Most of us are not running a practice in a vacuum where real life doesn't exist. Most of us have kids, have partners, have social lives, have activities, have personal crises, have situations going on in the background of us as business owners because we're full people. And when those things are going on, when life is lifing, and we sit down to work on our practice, we have this enormous to-do list. If you are running a busy, vibrant practice, there are so many tasks that you could spend your time on, so many places where your attention could go. And there are moments where even I am sitting there thinking, I don't know where to start. And this is something that comes up a lot with my consulting clients as well, with friends that I talk to. You just look at your to-do list and you say, I have a limited amount of time. I have a lot going on. Where is the best use of my energy? That's what I'm going to talk about today, because we've all been there and I've been there too. So I want to lay out my thought process and the way that I structure my own time and energy when I'm in these kinds of situations. If you have been reading the Worth It newsletter, which by the way, you can join, there's a link in the podcast notes. But if you've been reading that, that's where I kind of give a little bit more of a deep dive usually into what's going on with me personally, along with recommendations for other podcast episodes, the 3 during the week that I think are the best. I talk more about myself in more detail. And one thing you'll know if you've been reading that is that things have been a little bit more chaotic in my personal life lately than they usually are. This is because I have 2 young kids. It's summer, transitioning to the first week of school. They have a lot of things and appointments that they need to have happen, and someone has to be available to take them to those things. There are so many things going on that I have actually hired a full-time nanny in order to have somebody to basically get my kids to where they need to go so that I can do the work that I need to do. However, she's been out with knee surgery for the past month and a half. And so I've been essentially working half-time hours with a full-time workload. The practice's needs haven't changed, but my availability has. And that means when I sit down to work with limited time and, more importantly, limited capacity, I have to be very strategic about where my focus is going to go. And I'm still getting a million emails, tons of tasks, all these little things I could be working on. So how do I structure my time? I think about what is the highest return on investment task? What are the things that need to be accomplished and can only be accomplished by me that will really move my business strategy forward? Because I'm operating with a strategy always. I'm not just going through having things running. No, I have a plan. I have benchmarks. I have goals. I have expectations for where the practice should be at different points in the year. And in order to meet those goals, certain things have to happen. And there are places where the only person who can jump in and make those things happen is me, because I'm the owner of the practice and I have to sign off on everything. So let me give you an example. About a year ago, I decided that I wanted my practice to grow. Things were going really well. Our systems were holding up for what we had going on. We were getting good referrals. And when things are going well and are kind of normal, I don't know if this happens to you, but I start getting a little bit bored. I like some excitement. I like things to be happening. I immediately think, what if? And I start dreaming a bigger dream. And when I realized I wanted to dream a bigger dream, the reality at that time is that the systems that I had that were working for then were not going to work to support my bigger dream. The admin support, the admin systems, the way that we were doing things in the business was meeting the current needs of the clinicians who were working there, but was not going to tolerate an expansion. So if I'd started bringing on more therapists at that point and offering more services, things would have gotten chaotic. It would not have been a good experience for anyone. My admin would have been overwhelmed, the therapist would have been miserable, and the clients would not have had the experience that I expect clients to have in our practice. So at that point, I realized that we needed to improve our entire infrastructure. We needed more admin hours. We needed better admin support. We needed better systems in place. We needed a plan so that I could execute the next part of my vision. And so at that point, the highest return on investment tasks that I could do were bringing in that kind of structure. So it was bringing in an integrator from EOS, Entrepreneur Organization System, to basically grow my practice into a more stable place that could be prepared for more things. It was finding out, deciding what the next stage of admin support was going to be. It was designing some really key systems. It was defining some goals. It was making sure that my clinic director understood her role and mentoring her into a more leadership position. It was basically creating this infrastructure. And so at that point, the most important thing for me to do was to make that structure happen. Now that structure has happened. We are at the place I wanted to be. And now the most important things that I can do to meet the goals that I have set, which by the way, have not diminished, even though my time has diminished. My expectations for the practice are exactly the same as they were before, which shouldn't surprise you at all if you've been listening to me. The next important tasks for me to do are to make sure that our marketing support is improving and to make sure that I am now bringing on the right therapists. The systems are in place. We've up-leveled our marketing. We're doing the finishing touches on what that system should look like. And now I need to bring in the exact right fit therapists. And that part is really specific because what we all know is that the clinicians that you bring into this practice are the practice, right? Like you cannot compromise on quality, integrity, on the value of the clinicians that you bring in. So you have to be careful. You have to find the right people. You have to make sure that they're the right culture fit. You have to make sure that you're offering the value that they need and that the working relationship is what everybody is looking for. And so, for example, that's what I know I need to be doing right now. I need to be hiring more in-person child providers, and I actually need to be hiring a child forensic psychologist because we have a lot of referrals for child forensic psychology, and our child forensic psychologist is extremely busy. And now if I could bring on a second person, that would really help to meet that need in the community. And also it's a great place for us to be in the practice. So actually, by the way, if you know someone or you are someone who's an excellent child forensic psychologist, you're looking for an opportunity, go ahead and email me because I am on the hunt. But when I get overwhelmed, when I sit there and I look at my to-do list and I think, okay, you have 3 productive hours and you have to dedicate them to something. And I think of all the different ways I could spend my time. I go back to, I need to find these right fit people. So that is where I'm focused in my attention. And I need to make sure that my website marketing stuff is going well. So that's the other area where I'm going to focus my attention. And I'm going to let a lot of these other things go. I'm going to delegate them. I'm going to assign them. I'm going to decide that that is not the problem I need to solve today. I'm going to focus on this. Now, this does not always work out perfectly. I have a plan. I have a strategy for what I want to execute, but things come up. Unexpected things come up, problems come up, situations come up that come onto my desk. And so the system doesn't always work perfectly. But if I'm really being structured about it and it's going well, this is what I do. I take the next goals in. For example, hire an amazing child forensic psychologist. And then I'm like, okay, that's the goal that has to happen within the next 90 days. This is an example. I might feed this into ChatGPT, give it all of my constraints, and then say, okay, given all of this, tell me what I need to do every single week to move the needle on this specific task. And then it helps break it down into a more simple to-do list. And I know, okay, if I do these things, if I check them off, then I am a whole step closer to my actual goal and where my time should be. I do not spend all of my time, obviously, doing my highest ROI tasks. Because if I did that, like, for example, this podcast episode you're listening to is not a hiring mechanism. And it's also, I guess maybe it's a marketing mechanism, but it's not fixing our website and our SEO and our AEO and networking with people. So I guess it sort of could count, but it's definitely not my primary strategy. However, it's fun for me and it's my creative outlet. You have to work that in as well, right? It can't be all work and no play, not all reviewing contracts and no fun podcast episodes. So you have to put in some fun in there as well. But being able to take a step back and say, okay, what are my most important things to do? And focusing my time and attention there. That is extremely helpful for me when I sit down to this full inbox and could just putter away on Canva or something, which wouldn't really be helpful to anyone. So if you're in this position, if you're like, okay, I have so many things going on, the world is stressful, I have stuff with my own kids, I have these other things, where do I focus my time? I want you to think about the strategy in your practice. What is it that you're trying to achieve right now? Are you trying to grow a brand? Are you trying to get more clients? Like, are you just trying to fill people's schedules, which is extremely important? Are you trying to make more connections in the community? Are you trying to double the size of your practice? Right? There could be all these different things that you're trying to do. Have you taken a step back to say, okay, what are the actual tasks that will make that happen? And then how do I make them bite-sized enough so that I know what I should focus on today that will actually start moving me towards those goals? Because it's so easy to get swept up in all of the busyness and to lose sight of where you're going. It's like you're driving and it's really foggy out and you can't see anything. And you're like, I just need, the windshield wiper sort of clears this little path for you. And you're like, oh, okay, that's where I'm going. That's the goal. That's where the road is. Just figuring those things out are sometimes the hardest part about business, because being stuck in I don't know what to start just means you're spinning your wheels and not getting things done. Then you feel unproductive. And also, let's face it, you might have done a lot of busy work, but you haven't done the work that's going to move you where you want to be. It's not fulfilled you creatively, and it hasn't been important in meeting your goals. So I hope it's helpful to think about these things. If you need someone to sit with you and help you kind of wade through and figure out what your goals are, and then what tasks you really need to do to get there and how to break it down. I spend so much of my time doing this for myself and my clients and my leadership team. I'm so happy to help you figure it out as well, because it's that clarity that really helps us do the really important work that we need to do. Hope this episode has been helpful. Love chatting with you guys. We now actually have a place in the show notes. I would love your ideas for what I should talk about on Worth It Practice. What are you curious about? What do you want to know? What kinds of clarity can I give you? Are there any specific areas where you want to know my exact thoughts or systems? I'd love to share them with you. So give me some suggestions and I'll do my best to make a podcast episode just for you. Have a wonderful week and I'll talk to you next time.